Hello, everyone, and inside today's Locked On Canadiens, we're going to talk when is Arber Xhekaj coming back to the Montreal Canadiens, and it is a day late, 3 up and 3 down.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 971 of Locked On Canadiens. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply, of course. I am one of your hosts. I am Scott Matla, and as always, we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you get your team every single day of the week, wherever you get your daily podcast, Google, Apple, Spotify, or if you are watching on youtube.com as well. And I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, the Active Stick, Laura Saba. And Laura, we said last week we weren't going to push 3 up, 3 down back again, but then we forgot the Canadiens played on Sunday, and we kind of had to push it back just to fit everything into this episode.
Why are we getting 2 games in a row on a weekend is what I want to know. And then no games until Wednesday and then no games until Saturday. Sorry. You were about to say, how am I doing?
I was saying, how are you doing? How are we feeling after they split the weekend going 1-1 against the Sabres and Predators this weekend? I unfortunately missed the Predators game due to some family commitments.
Okay. So here's the thing. For most of the game, if you were following it on social media or whatever, you would hear nothing but complaints. They did not look good. They did not look good, okay? But they picked it up, and then they played really, 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 really well. They didn't win the game, but there were so many chances and, like, legitimate, like, I know people like to call them high danger chances. I like to call them meaty chances. There's a lot of meat. But it didn't start out well.
Well, I mean, I guess we've seen the Canadiens never play well in a back-to-back this year, but going 1-1 is fine. Obviously, you can listen to Laura's episode. Just got the recap from the weekend and everything for you, including a game where I said, I'm not going to go to the Sabres game because they always lose when I go, and then they managed to play a very fun, exciting game with a Slafkovsky shootout winner and it had everything I would have wanted in a game, and I didn't get to go watch it because I am a fool, to be quite honest.
I don't know if you're a fool or not, Scott, because they usually let you down. But I think this is the thing. Listeners should Venmo you not to go to these Sabres games.
They just asked for my advice. And a bunch of people that we know from Twitter came down for the game and didn't ask to hang out or anything on the weekend. So, like, I am yelling at you mostly with this. So, like, but that's not the point. You can listen to Laura's Monday recap and everything here. But the big question is, the Laval Rocket have now played 3 games with Arber Xhekaj in the lineup. They've gone 1-2 in those games, and they've gotten progressively better. The game they played on Saturday, which was the Teddy Bear Toss game, 3 p.m. start, was phenomenal. Much better game for the team all the way around. They were motivated. Riley Kidney, 2 goals and an assist. Arber Xhekaj looked good. Everyone is asking, when is Arber Xhekaj coming back to the Canadiens lineup here? And also, why isn't Arber Xhekaj fighting everybody who lays a hit on anybody questionably in the AHL? And I'm going to start with the second half of this question first, is that I believe it was Saturday's game, Friday or Saturday's game, one of the two, Matt Rempe, it was definitely Saturday's game. 6'7" Matt Rempe hit Xavier Simoneau with a leaping hit to the head. Xavier Simoneau is 5'7" on a good day, being stretched by a foot, hitting the head, and everyone's like, did Xhekaj go after him? Did he get his revenge later in the game? One, the guy got kicked out of the game, so no. And he's not going to fight a dude wearing a full face mask because that's very, very stupid. The biggest thing about this whole assignment to the AHL was to work on refining parts of Arber Xhekaj's game. Defensively, decision-making, making plays with the puck. And what I've noticed from Arber Xhekaj in this is he's making smart, assertive decisions. In the offensive zone, he is committing, making good passes, making good reads, staying where he needs to be defensively. He hasn't really, stretched the bounds of where we know he can be at, and that we know we can see him, rough and tumble along the boards there with big hits. He hasn't had to be that guy because he's focusing a lot on his positioning and keeping himself in the right areas. And I think that's a good thing. When is Arber Xhekaj going to start fighting people thing it's a disservice to the player, I feel like. Arber Xhekaj is more than just a dude who beats people up. He's a dude who beats people up, but can also play a very serviceable brand of hockey. And I know the Canadiens are missing some of that physical edge in the NHL right now, but I don't want to see Xhekaj back in the lineup just because people want to see him fight NHL fourth liners or bottom pairing defensemen. It's a disservice to him as a prospect, and it kind of makes me sad that there's this reductionist view of what Arber Xhekaj is to the Montreal Canadiens right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, as you were saying, I don't want to see him in the NHL to punch faces. I want to see him in the NHL to play defense. That's what I want to see him in the NHL for. And it's really funny, too, because this is the second segment that we spend on Arber Xhekaj, and Arber Xhekaj is not on the NHL team. And this is how much he means to the fans. This is how much he's part of the discourse. So I can't wait to see him back. But I don't just want to see him back because he's a fan favorite. I want to see him back because the Canadiens are, like, they would be better with him playing on the defense.
And here's the hard part is it has become a lot harder now to where does he slot in? Because they're still missing Jordan Harris. David Savard has just come back from injury. I missed who came out of the lineup on Sunday, unfortunately, just because I wasn't able to watch the game there. But I know David Savard was back. Matthias Norlinder, I know was...
Yeah, they're going to be loaning they loaned Matthias Norlinder to Laval.
But I don't know who out of the lineup that played in Buffalo on Saturday came out for David Savard. Because I know...
I did talk about it yesterday.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to listen. I've had a busy Monday for work, unfortunately. But the hard part is Jayden Struble coming up, and he's been very good. Good problem to have. We know Jordan Harris is coming back. We know he's a very good defenseman. We know Cayden Primeau is good. We know Jonathan Kovacevic is a Swiss Army knife kind of fill in there. We know who Mike Matheson is. We know David Savard is that defensive stay-at-home guy here. And then you have Justin Barron, who provides an offensive upside. My thought is you send Gustav Lindstrom back down. I don't want them to send Jayden Struble back down because I don't think that he's deserving to be sent down with how well that he's played. And we'll have more on that in another segment here. But it's a very tough decision that if they think that Jayden Struble should stay in the NHL, then you trade one of the vets or something that doesn't fit in here. You trade Gustav Lindstrom now. I don't think anyone would be upset if you got like a 6th round pick for it because he was the throw-in in the Jeff Petrie trade, you know? But the path is not as clear, and I get why they want Arber Xhekaj in the AHL. He's on the top pair, so he's playing 20 minutes a night. He's getting reps in there. He's not going to get that same ice time at the NHL level right now because Matheson's going to play 24 minutes a night. Gooley's going to play another 20, and then you're picking scraps afterwards there, you know? He can easily step in and play those big minutes, but there's not a guarantee of that every night. And I prefer that he get the reps right now. It's the same thing when people are like, when is Logan Mailloux going to get called up? Let him get the reps there because it's working. We're seeing the improvement there. And it's not a snap your fingers. They're very clearly good to go. Like Cole Caufield went to the AHL and was immediately too good for the league. This is a different situation on that. I'm surprised that it wasn't just the 3 games and they kind of shuffled things around because I thought David Savard had more time on the IR list there. But there's a lot of things coming to a head now. You have goaltending stuff. You have a lot of defensemen. You have more injuries. There's a lot of things coming to a head for the Canadiens heading into the new year here. And I think Kent Hughes is going to be a very busy man over his Christmas vacation at this point.
And I think that to me, like, I feel like we're going to talk about injuries coming up. I know that, but the decision making for me as somebody who has ADHD, like I don't want to be in Kent Hughes' position right now.
That's fair. I don't want to be in Kent Hughes' in his position right now because like pick a goalie, pick a defenseman, pick a prospect, pick like
the goalie situation right now. Honestly, is so stressful for me. I'm losing hair over it, and I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, there's a lot with that, and we will get into the goaltending situation later on in the show, if in a good way, don't worry, but we do have our, well, now sometimes not Monday tradition. It is 3 up and 3 down. We always start with the down because we want to get the negative out of the way first. And that's all coming up in our next segment. But first, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Sleeper. And a new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. We were hoping Cole Caufield could hit 50 goals this year. We know fans around Canada are hoping that this is the year the Stanley Cup comes back home to somewhere in Canada. And you could win big by playing Daily Fantasy Hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy hockey app of the Locked On NHL Network. And it is our #1 choice for daily fantasy hockey because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests there. It's so easy to use. And the thing is, all you have to do, find what stars that you think are going to record more or less than their sleeper projection thing, like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, or more in a given game. Is Crosby going to, do Sidney Crosby? Is Connor McDavid going to stay ridiculously hot? Is Cayden Primeau going to make 40 saves every single time he plays in a game? All you have to do to win 100 times your bet on Sleeper is you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. That's right, Habs fans. You heard me. You can win 100 times your money by playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Just use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. We are back here at Locked On Canadiens. And if you are new to the show, hello and welcome. Normally, the first episode of the week, we do 3 up and 3 down, but because of the Sunday game, Laura has game recaps and everything squared away for that. So we had to push it back another day. And we always start with the down segment here because we always want to get the negative out of the way early and send the people home happy, which is usually the old wrestling adage that send the folks home happy. So let the baby faces win the main event, etc. But we're going to start with the downs here. And the biggest thing is, and this happened in the Buffalo game, Tanner Pearson out 4 to 6 weeks with an upper body injury because the Canadiens cannot help but continue to suffer injuries across the board on things. And I know it's Tanner Pearson. It's a bottom 6 kind of player here, but it is now
he's a serviceable bottom 6 player is the thing.
And he's trade asset that he is on an expiring deal who started out decently, but if he can get some production out of that, it's like when Mike Hoffman and Sean Monahan, et cetera, got hurt last year that their value just plummeted because they weren't playing. He's going to miss about a month and a half to 2 months here. That's a lot of time. That's going to bring us into his injury is going to bring us to the beginning of February. And then you have a couple of weeks to get him back on track before the trade deadline. I don't even know what to say anymore because it's not like, oh, they're playing through an injury. They're getting hurt in games and then immediately being out long-term. I don't know what entity cursed this franchise, but stop it. I'm begging you to stop it, please. Like just a little bit at this point, just a little reprieve from the injuries.
At this point, if you sign with or are traded to the Montreal Canadiens, you can expect a 4 to 6 week absence in your very near future. That's what it looks like to me. It's an average of 4 to 6 weeks, right? Like we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing obviously a long-term, like a year-long injury, which, oh my God, it still hurts my heart to think what could have been. But at the same time, like, I don't understand what it is. Like, are other teams experiencing this? I know there are injury curses all across the league, but I don't know if it's this bad.
And that's the thing is, it's like everything keeps compiling here. It's like, okay, Doc out for the year. You lose this, you lose this, you lose this. And it's like, what the hell, And it hurts the team because you're constantly shuffling the lineup here. Like we found one thing that works, then one thing breaks, And now you got to shuffle the lineup a little bit. Is it, do you move Jesse Alonen up? Is it going to be Joel Armia in that spot? What do you do to fill where Tanner Pearson was now? Because the call-up bodies aren't super deep right now either, dealing with their own injuries with the Rocket. And the one part of this, and this is actually going to perfectly tie into kind of my next down segment here, and that we might only have 2 for this because this is going to be a minute. Justin Barron got buried from behind in the Sabres game. That ended up being a 5-minute major in which NHL officiating had themselves a weekend, not a good weekend. They had quite a weekend with a huge inconsistency across everything, which is the only consistent part we've come to expect from them. And in the span of a day, you had the Dylan Larkin being cross-checked by Parker Kelly and Matthew Joseph, resulting in David Perron cross-checking Matthew Joseph in the face and is likely getting suspended for that. Followed up by Eric Robinson hitting Justin Barron from behind, which Kyle Okposo had words about because the next day, Erica Branson was hit from behind by Nick Cousins. There was not a call on the play. So Goodbranson got up, chased Cousins down the ice, beat him up, and he has a hearing for roughing. And then I believe it was Ryan Strome went knee on knee with one of the Winnipeg Jets, got 5 in a game, will suffer no external discipline beyond that. It was not a good weekend. There's no consistency in NHL officiating in that some of these calls should have been instantaneous. 5 done. What are you doing? And players are upset because, oh, this wasn't called this last time. And I think it was a Sabres game where one of their players was hit from behind and it was called a 2-minute minor in that same situation. And it sounds gross because Justin Barron was clearly shaken up on the play. And I understand where Okposo is coming from, even if I don't agree with his point. I am once again asking, when are we going to get any sort of like baseline NHL officiating here? Because people are getting hurt and it seems like it's egregiously bad this year. They're calling soft things and letting other things go. It's terrible. And this isn't just a Habs centric complaint. And I know it's not. I hope people don't take it as that, but oh my God, what are we doing here? Honestly,
what we're doing here is we're letting a league get out of control. We're letting players get out of control. It's exactly like you said, like when they don't see anything happen to you, they're going to go like Goodbranson, taking it into his own hands. I think they need to not just be baseline, they need to also be consistent. Like it feels like they're getting maybe 1 out of 10 calls right. And nobody's perfect for sure. And we've talked about the officiating before. And then we even had somebody ask us, can you please have a constructive argument about this? But somebody has to do something because it's like, it's not even, I said inconsistent, but sometimes it's not even there. Like the NHL really has to put their foot down and say, we are not going to tolerate these egregious, like retaliations or targeting or injuries or whatever. Like, I think at this point they need to overcorrect a little bit just so that we can get back to normal.
And here's the thing is, it's not just the NHL. The hit on Xavier Simoneau in the Rocket game on Saturday was initially called nothing. There wasn't a penalty being called on the play at all. And that to me is like, I don't know how you miss a 6'7" guy jumping and hitting someone in the head and a player slumped unconscious on the ice for at least 15 seconds afterwards and you don't stop the play. It took them so long that they huddled. I thought they weren't going to call anything. This is not just an NHL complaint, it's just the one that we all see the most. So it's the one we complain the most about, but I don't understand how you miss these things or how you can't find a baseline. If you hit someone from behind in the numbers or you hit them in the head, it should be 5 in a game. The IIHF has this correct, that if you hit someone in the head, incidental or not, you are done. You want to cut down hits to the head, you do that. You want to cut down hits from behind, you do that. If you don't levy a punishment that, is an actual deterrent to the problem, it's never going to happen. Not that, and the IIHF has these issues. We see it at the World Championships. We see it in World Juniors every year, but the incidents are far less. Like, I haven't turned the game on tonight, but I guarantee you there'll be at least one incident tonight where I go, that probably should have been called a hit to the head or something else. Surprise, everyone. You got another officiating rant. It's been a hot minute since the last one. So we are going to move on, though, because we like to keep the show light. We have our positives and everything. We're going to talk about Juraj Slafkovsky. We're going to talk about the backup goalie position and is an AHL contracted player going to get promoted up to the NHL this year. We'll discuss all that and more in our final segment. But first, today's show is also brought to you by the friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience is what brings home the winning trophy, and it's also what keeps your ride or die vehicle alive every day. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers to roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts, your number one ride or die vehicle will find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your vehicle every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, you're not burning cash or a hole in your wallet. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die vehicle alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply, and eBay guaranteed fit available only to United States customers. We are back here at Locked On Canadiens. If you ever want to tweet us segment suggestions, mailbag questions, thoughts, concerns, memes that are appropriate, at LO_Canadiens on Twitter.com. Laura's at The Active Stick. I'm at Scott Matla. It is time for the up part of the final segment of our show today. It's been a long day. My brain is operating at like 4 brain cells at this point.
Also,
we always
Scott, I just have a question.
Yes.
You hate pickles, but you're somehow dressed in pickle colors today, and even your glass has pickle color. I know it's a Packers game, but you're yeah.
This is also lemonade flavored.
Oh. I thought it was a pickle colored glass. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's a lemonade flavor redacted drink. So people don't yell at me. Anyways, it is it's the up segment of today's show. And I want to start with the biggest thing here. And the biggest takeaway I had from the Sabres game is, has Cayden Primeau earned the backup role now? He's looked good even without some of the wins here. He's looked a lot more solid than we've seen before, and I'm more willing to forgive some of the foibles in his game where he isn't maybe as dialed in as like Jake Allen is. Like this year, he's played 6 games, or let's see here. He is this year, he's 3-3. 3.4 goals against, .902 save percentage with 1 assist, 2 penalty minutes. Goon. But like, it's hard for me to not look at that and be like, yeah, that's perfectly fine for a backup. Jake Allen is at a 3.58, 901 save percentage. He's 3-6-2 on the year. Admittedly, Allen has gotten some harder starts in there, and Montembeault is the entrenched starter. But I think this goaltending thing is kind of bringing itself to a close here. I think that Primeau's proving himself to be a little bit more solid than I had anticipated coming into this year. And based on the cheapness of his deal, he has another year on it after this one. It really makes sense that you kind of run Montembeault Primeau for right now, unless someone offers you a haul for Cayden Primeau at this point, I would think.
Right. And that's the thing. I think right now, we keep saying, what is Kent Hughes waiting for? What is Kent Hughes waiting for? Because it was Montembeault and then 2 guys, right? Like one who has a proven past, but is also on the downside and has had a couple of games where you're like, questioning him now. And then the opposite, a young guy who you've been questioning him for a while. And now, that he's got a bit more experience, he's looking more and more steady. And I think the decision is really who's asking and what's the return.
And that's the thing is, I think the biggest thing here, though, is that I'm very happy to see Cayden Primeau kind of find some level to his game. And admittedly, his numbers are helpfully boosted a little bit by making 46 saves against Buffalo and coming up pretty big in the shootout in that game. I'm happy to see maybe that consistency. Maybe he caps out as a 905 NHL goaltender.
That's not bad.
Perfectly fine backup in the modern NHL right now until we get to that next tier of goaltending prospects. And I would happily run that because it means they're trying to see what they have in this. What Jake Allen is at this point. And I like and I respect Jake Allen, but I would rather do this, that if you're going to lose younger than lose older, if that makes sense on that. Speaking of that shootout against Buffalo, Jesse Alonen is disgusting. Shootout specialist, an absolute freak, but he is not the person I want.
Give him more opportunities.
Well, good thing Tanner Pearson's injured. I'm sorry, Tanner, but if there's anyone who's going to benefit from you, it should be Jesse Alonen here.
Mm-hmm.
Juraj Slafkovsky was ice cold, and he had a fight in that game, no less, too, which every now and then, and I've seen this more and more from him since he's been on the top line, Juraj Slafkovsky plays like he realizes he's a 6'4" murder toddler on knife shoes and is bigger than most people on the ice. He uses the body. He uses his reach. He uses his everything to scan the zone and everything. He's finding that next level. And yes, I know there's 7 points on the season, that there's going to be more there. The process and building blocks are there, like we talked about last week, but his shootout winner, he had Devin Levi just swimming. And Devin Levi is a very good young goaltender, maybe struggling a little bit this year, but one of the best young prospect goaltenders in the world. And the Canadiens had him just drowning out there. Caufield beat him 5-hole. Suzuki mishandled the puck, but Jolonen, absolutely disgusting. And then Slafkovsky goes in and with that wide reach, scoops around, gets it around his pad, tucks it in, and puts his hands up in the why not me celebration kind of thing. The maturation and development of Juraj Slafkovsky, that confidence it's oozing off of him without being arrogant. He knows he's playing well, and he's doing everything he can to keep that going. The best thing to have come out of any of this right now is that Juraj Slafkovsky looks like he's taking those next steps and is improving game after game. And sooner or later, he's going to stop healing those one-timers on the power play, and we're going to watch that goal total just do one of these. And that's what I want to see. And we're seeing the process, and that's always going to get on the up list for me. I will always updo Juraj Slafkovsky doing good things. Always.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. It's taking a little bit longer than people expected, but I've noticed a very big change in the narrative surrounding him. And I don't want to say that we're completely out of the woods yet. I do think we're going to get a lot of silliness still. Every time he has a slump, every time he has any kind of setback, we're going to see some panicking amongst the fan base, but he seems to have tuned it out, right? Like, it's not just the fan base, it's the media as well. People have been like, when are we going to see what he has? When are we going to see what he's bringing to the table? How long is it going to take? Like, what is wrong? What is wrong? And now what you're seeing is that he's able to kind of just drown all of that stuff out and mature at his own pace. Like, I'm not super worried. I think he's going to be good. I think we're still, we're still way early in his career to call it, but it's looking more and more steady and positive at this point. And I think steady is a big one, because I don't know if it was just us as a fan base. I don't know if it was the discourse or whatever, but it felt a bit shaky, right? Last year, it felt a bit off and shaky. And I think now we're on far more solid ground.
And I think that's a huge point there, is that there were points last year where it looks like he was good, but they were here and there. We've seen a stretch from him this season. I think that is the most important part, is that it is not one good game disappears, a decent game disappears. It is good game, good game, good game, good game. Maybe he has an off one here or there, but we're seeing more good games than we're seeing bad games. And I think that is, he's still only 19. Like, this is a huge deal. His prime's still 2, 3, 4 years away, depending on how you look at it. And if he's doing this now and he's getting all the building blocks in there, I think that's what you're hoping for as a Habs fan. And that's what I'm loving this season so far, is that I'm seeing that progression for him right now. And he's doing it now without Kirby Dach, which is, I know, I know it's Nick Suzuki, but also, like, it's a good thing to have happen right now.
Right.
For our final up, Laura, we had a mailbag question kind of tied to this, did we not?
We did. We had Lucas P asking us, hey guys, can you explain why Gignac, who's having a really good year, is not assigned to any NHL team? Why would we not sign him just to make sure someone doesn't snatch him up? Or is there something about him that I'm unaware of?
Well, he signed a 2-year AHL contract last year after his first year with the Rocket. And he was injured and kind of was a, middling tier producer. He could be counted on for an occasional big goal and everything for the Rocket, but he wasn't producing like this last year. And now I believe it was Anthony Marcotte, who is the play-by-play for BPM Sports in Montreal, who does the Rocket games, who mentioned that he's 10th in the AHL in scoring this year. He's having a really strong year, and mentioned that he can't be far away from maybe getting that NHL contract there. He's consistent. He's worked on things defensively. And in Anthony's own words, speed merchant. He's one of the fastest players I've ever seen. And that includes people at the NHL level. He has that Paul Byron speed that you're not expecting it. And then he is gone and he has passed you. He's been a huge piece for the Rocket, going all the way back to their first playoff run under Jean-Francois Houle. He's got a really good thing going with Joshua Waugh on that top line there. I wouldn't be shocked to see that maybe in the new year. They give him an AHL deal, give him some fourth line time there. I have to double check the rule on. I'm not sure if he gets an NHL deal, if he has to re-clear waivers then at that point, because I think their fear might be if he's on an AHL deal, no one's going to claim him at that point. But if they sign him and he has to go on waivers to go back down to the AHL, there was always a chance he could be picked off of waivers by a team. And then you are now without your star AHL player and you no longer have that spot to fill there. But he's a really fun player. He's not the flashiest, but when he gets going speed-wise, it's just you're not catching him. One of the heart and soul guys on this Rocket team that they had a good game on Saturday against the Wolfpack, had a decent one Friday night, still lost that one, but they ended the bleeding, and now they are heading on the road this week. So you'll see plenty of Brandon Gignac this week. Laura, did you have any parting thoughts to add on the up list this week?
No, that was it for me. I was just really excited about Slafkovsky. Like when we were even deciding what time we should sit down to record, that was the first thought that came to my head. So I'm just excited about that.
I was to say also special shout out Jayden Strubl's first NHL goal was a beauty on his former Northeastern teammate. Apparently they were hanging out before the game. He said, "You got to let me get one." And Devin Levi said, "No way, man. That's not going to happen." So he went out and did it anyways. Jayden Strubl's ascent to an NHL defenseman is impressive and definitely something that I think we're going to spend a little bit more time on later this week. But as of right now, we are going to wrap up the show with y'all today. As always, you can find us wherever you find your daily podcasts on Google, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find that. And if you are interested in video, we are on youtube.com. Just look up Locked On Canadiens. And when you're done with us, check out Locked On Sports Today, the first 24/7 streaming channel. All of our local experts, our national shows, 24/7. That is Locked On Sports Today. Tell all your friends, subscribe, and folks, we will see you all next time.